What's up, guys? It's David coming at you from Organic Priced Books with a very special, very long deep dive, guys. So I'm giving you a first look at The Boys Volume 3. We finally got it. We got all three of the complete series. So I'm going to show you a real quick first look at that, and then I'm going to go into a deep dive that's going to go deep. I'm talking about just, spoilers all around, so get ready for that. Let me show you what the book looks like. We have both the unsigned and the signed version, so there you go. Let me move this out of the way. As you can see, we got some nice new tables. And here is the spine for both of them. All right, and the back. So let me show you what they look all together, guys. We got all three of them here. Here's Volume 3, here is Volume 2, and here is Volume 1. So there you go. If you guys have never read the story, this is a great time to get it. And let's show you the spines all together. How does that look, JP? Pretty good?
Yep, looks pretty good.
As you can see, the third one is very thick. It is the very end of it, so they put everything together. And we're going to get a look into that. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so this is going to be just a quick first look. I'm just going to fly by this. As you can see, the signature here of Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. And that's cool. This is the signed version of it as well. And we have all, but the first and the second still available for the signed version. And I'm just going to show you real quick just what it looks like. The pages feel good. They're not thin. They don't feel too thin. They are semi-glossy, not full matte, but not like super glossy that I've seen on some pages. The colors are vibrant. There's no page numbers at the bottom. And here we go. Let's check out some of the other, the extras that are in the back, so you can see that as well. And then I'm going to just jump into a deep dive that's going to blow your socks off. Okay. I don't want to give away too much because there's, this is the end of it, and if you don't want to get spoiled, just wait for me to get to the, okay, so the extras. You get, of course, some of the, looks like the storyboards and the scripts as well, a little bit of the black and white drawings of it. There you go. Yeah, you get a lot of the scripts, looks like. Very cool. Here is some of the pencil drawings as well that it looks like. And then, in the even one of the issues, they're at a brothel kind of place, and basically there's nude paintings all over the walls, and it's funny because it's pictures of all of the some of the most famous Marvel and DC covers. So this one is the Spider-Man No More, where he's walking away and there's a guy like wearing a S&M mask. This is Batman's parents' death, so the little boy and the parents are naked. I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, when Spider-Man is carrying Gwen Stacy after she dies. There's another one where it's basically like the Superman where he's carrying the car from issue number 1. It's also on there. So that's pretty funny. That's included in there as well. So let's take a look. And then you get some more little character studies of them, their drawings, which is really cool. I like that a lot. And here are some of the covers that you see as well. Let's take a look. From different artists. This one looks like Blade. And cool, an introduction. Pinup gallery, it says. Introduction to the pinup gallery. Okay, and then a little bit of bio of the cast or the writers of this, and at the end you just kind of get the boys, Dear Becky, and stuff like that. And there you go. So there you go. That is a first look. So from this point forward, it is nothing but spoilers. So it's going to be a really deep dive, guys. So let's start that and get ready for it. And if you don't want to get spoiled, then I would suggest stopping the video here. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, guys, so it's time for the deep dive into The Boys, Volume 1, 2, and 3. We finally got the complete set. So, I did a little bit of the ones, but I'm going to just recap so that you guys can tell or can see. So we're going to go real quick. We're introduced to, of course, Huey. And if you remember in the show as well as in the book, basically his girlfriend, or whatever you want to call her, gets splattered. There he is. He's with her. Hey, I love you. You're the best thing in my life. And then, unfortunately, while he is there, this A-Train is fighting a bad guy. And she basically just gets ripped up in front of him, as you can see there. She's just left with the arms. And then she is splattered on the wall. And again, guys, there's very graphic, as you can see on this side. They don't skimp any details, so very realistic and well as that. So he, of course, is distraught. Vought tries to buy him off. If you remember in the show, he's like, he doesn't really want to. That's where Butcher comes in and contacts him and tells him, hey, you want to join a group that's trying to get revenge? And you kind of get introduced to the three characters, or the rest of the boys, the main characters, which is, of course, you got Frenchie, Terror, which is actually not in the movie or in the show. I think he might have been in the first couple of episodes, but basically he doesn't show up too often. But in the book, he's a part of the team as well. You're introduced to, of course, MM, which is Mother's Milk, as you can see there. And he is a pretty badass character as well. You're introduced to Frenchie, and then the female, or they just call her female. They don't really give her name, even though in the show she is called, I think, Monica or something like that. So in the show, they definitely give more details on them. They make them more, flesh out the characters. But in the books, they're very, I don't want to say one-dimensional, because you get to see a little bit of their background and why they're doing what they're doing. But they don't go too much into like themselves as like, oh, this is they're getting. I mean, you can tell that they're interested in some, for example, the female and the Frenchie, but it's not like as much as the show. You're also, of course, introduced to Annie February or January, who is, of course, Starlight, and how she goes into the 7. And then, of course, automatically, if you remember in the show, she has to, please the Deep. In this one, she has to please Homelander, I believe, the Deep, and Black Noir. So she's part of that. He gets introduced. So in the book, Huey is from Scotland as well, so he's not an American. In the show, he is American. And just guys, remember, there's going to be a bunch of spoilers with the rest of this, so just be aware if you haven't read it. I'm going to spoil it for you, but hey, maybe you just want to know the highlights. You don't have to read the whole thing. Cool. So in the beginning, I did not like the artwork very much of how they drew them, but I did like. I'm going to be honest with you. By the end of it, I had grown accustomed to it, and then I couldn't see it being drawn any other way. As you can see, the characters are like very realistic in how they're portrayed. They look like they're not very pretty. Even Huey is just like, he has a big head, I felt. But that just makes them more relatable, more human. Of course, there's a lot of nudity and such. So basically, the boys are the checks and balances to the superhero community. They're part of the CIA. So in the book, they are actually part of the CIA. They're under one of the directors of the CIA, and they have basically funds that they get paid for. This is the director of the FBI that Butcher basically is doing, and that's how they get their pass to do whatever they want to do. Huey comes in. These guys have already kind of established their roles in the thing. Frenchie and the female are like the wet works. They handle the dispatching and killing if needed, and maiming. MM is more of the investigative second in command. He is very good at figuring out what these guys are doing, like checking out finding their secrets. And then Butcher, of course, is just the man in charge. Huey comes in as almost like an outsider. He's like, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to hurt people, but I'm still have this resentment towards the superhero community. And you get to see what kind of he's like, maybe not all of them are bad, but for the most part they are all bad. Tech Knight is, for example, a pedophile, or he can't stop like basically having sex with things, even even like animals he does. So you get to see a lot of that interaction. So at the beginning, it's just kind of random. I felt like, yeah, he was mad, or Butcher had a thing against the Seven, but it wasn't really fleshed out. So at the beginning, I felt it was just kind of like, okay, well, they have to like just all this other part is just like them kind of interacting with the other superheroes that are, and then just kind of stopping them or making sure that they don't do anything bad. And then when they do something bad, punishing them. Like Tech Knight, of course, they basically bloody him up real quick, real bad, and tell him, hey, did you kill this person? Blah blah blah. If you remember my first one, I kind of went through that as well. Then you get to see, this is the arc where they go to Russia, which in the show, if you know, that's where they find Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy in the book is very, very small character. He's there for like a little bit, but he's not a big, he's not anything at all. I think he dies. I don't even remember. Like, it's that like whatever. It's a very. Anyway, you get to meet Love Sausage, which is Vaz, who is a friend of him, a friend of Butcher's in the actual book. In the show, if you've watched Herogasm, he's there for like one episode, and then that's it. But he in the show, in the book, he's actually more of a accomplice with them to stop the VOD America. And this is Annie, of course. Her story is kind of like Huey. She's wanting to join the Seven since she was a teenager, and she comes in and sees that not everything is Star Stripes, Star Spangled Banner or anything like that. It's very much a group of perverts, basically, as you can see there. So she tries to find relief and faith or with her old peers, and then all of them are exactly kind of like how the Seven are. They're all having sex with each other and being perverted. So they kind of find solace in each other when she meets Huey. They build a relationship. They start a relationship, but none of them she doesn't know that he's part of the CIA operatives killing superheroes, and he doesn't know that she is one of the Seven. So he's very kind of clueless in that fact, that he knows who the Seven are, but he doesn't know who Starlight is, and you could clearly tell that was her. So their relationship I like, which is very, they're getting to know each other, but they are expressing the disillusion with their jobs towards each other without being too open and without knowing that they're actually basically enemies in a sense. So you get a lot of that in book one. Is just kind of building that relationship between them, setting up the premises for Butcher and the boys and the agenda that they have, and then you also get to see some of Bot's mess up and why in the book they are basically the worst. So if you see here, instead of 9/11 being the catalyst, what happened is the planes basically took off in 9/11 to destroy the World Trade Center. All of them were stopped by the army except for one, which the Seven were supposed to stop so that they could become heroes, and VOD America VOD could put them into basically into the service of the military. So the whole promise is VOD is trying to make the Seven or superheroes part of the military industrial complex for the United States, using them to make money. They're just trying to make money off of them, and the best money is always in the government, and it's always been stopped by the boys. And the main reason, as well as you can see here, they were trying to stop that plane, and of course they had no experience actually how to do that sort of thing. So as you can see there, they weren't sure what to do. Homelander and Maeve go in there to stop it, but they can't. It looks like the pilots have been killed, and they're like, oh, there's nothing we can do. We got to get out of here. So Homelander gets mad, and he basically kills the pilots, destroys all the equipment, and he's like, oh, there's nothing we can do. We got to leave. Maybe it's like, we can't leave these people behind, just like in the show, if you remember that part. Homelander's like, too bad, so sad. He leaves, and then as you can see there, what happens is the plane crashes into the Brooklyn Bridge and destroys it. So in this universe, or in their world, the the 9/11, what happened is the Brooklyn Bridge got destroyed and it killed about I think it says 5,000 people. So it's kind of the same thing, but it was the fault of the superheroes. VOD America basically paid off somebody to instead of the fighter pilots taking down the planes, the VOD America or the 7 was supposed to stop the plane, but they couldn't do anything because, of course, they're just superheroes, but they have no organization, no tactical skills. They don't work as a team together. So basically, they caused the plane to crash into Brooklyn Bridge, and so that's kind of what the boys has over them. Is like if you go ahead and try to move into this into the military, we're going to show the world all this, and it's going to destroy the company. So the story is kind of them trying to outsmart each other, like VOD trying to find a way to get somebody into power that will allow it, which is their candidorial president or vice president called Vic, and the boys trying to stop him and stop them from basically taking over. And then let's take a look. In this part, Huey joins the G-Men, which is, or like the G-Wiz. And the G-Wiz are basically a parody of the X-Men. And you know how there's so many X-Force groups, or X groups, X-Force, Excalibur, X-Men, like all of the ones that we have up here. Let's take a look. What else is there? Legacy, like all that stuff. So those are all of the East Coast, West Coast X-Men. All of that is kind of made fun of here because there's all those the G-Men are the teens, the pre-teens, the East Coast, the West Coast, the main team, and they're all part of it, and they make a lot of money for VOD. So he tries to infiltrate them to try to get more bugs into the house of the mansion of the main the main team. And so Huey dresses up like a superhero. I think that would have been funny to see in the show, but of course we didn't get that. So then he sees how despicable they are. They like watch porn together. They basically jerk each other off, as you can see there. So he's very disillusioned and he doesn't want to do that. He's trying to change them. He's trying to let me show you the errors of your ways. This is, of course, the alternate of what's his face, Professor X. And of course they. He's trying to do that, but he's also like in love with Annie, or Starlet, if you want to know. And then here's where they found out that basically, what's his face? The G-Force is just a bunch of pedophiles, and basically the main guy, what he does is let me see, where is it at? Yeah, the main guy, he basically kidnaps kids, and he gives them V, and then basically that he has sex with the kids, and all the other students that they get older, they also participate in that. So here they try to stop him, and as you can see, all of the G men are gonna attack the boys, and Huey gets mad. They're about to go, and VOD America comes down with helicopters and just completely obliterates them, just destroys them. Rocket launchers, guns, destroys them all. All of them just gone. And basically this guy is like the representation of VOD. He destroys his people, or they are just resources if they act out of line or whatever or something. They're not if he evaluates that, they're not worth the risk, let's just kill them. So a lot of that is just the the wanton killing and just the disregard for life that these guys have. And I want to say he's the main, I don't want to call him antagonist because he's not really a bad guy. He just is a really good representation of VOD as a company, in the sense that he just calculates things. They're not, the risk is too much for the reward, so let's go ahead and just terminate them, and they kill them. And then you see here where he's talking about stuff like that. We just got rid of them. Even look, so these are the kids, the little kids that they were training up. And then it looks like they're like trying to escape or something, and then it turns out they're in the plane, and they just throw them over the ocean, so they just kill them. So basically that's where you see a lot of that. What basically the boys are fighting VOD for, their disregard for humans, and then just using, you know, the compound V to make superheroes and then just destroying or killing them at all. Okay, this is a little bit of the extras on that one, which you already saw. In volume 2, I already did a first look, so if you haven't seen that with the extras, I'm just going to skip that because we're just going over the story. Here is the beginning of Herogasm, which, if you've seen the episodes, is you know, like a love sex thing. This is the same thing, but basically, you know how there's events in both Marvel and DC that it's like, oh, it's the annual event that everybody gets together to fight somebody. So this is that, but it kind of makes fun of it because what they really do, like here he's saying, oh, there's a threat from outer space and all of the heroes and all of the villains are teaming up together to go fight it. We're gonna go together, and you see all of the bad guys and the good guys going to fight the alien threat. Of course, there is no alien threat. They just do that so they can have a vacation, a week-long vacation called Herogasm. They basically go to an island, and they meet up there with, you know, with hookers and with and guys and girls, and they just have a week-long marathon of nothing but depravity and sex. So everybody shows up. All of the 7, as you can see there. VOD shows up as well. There's a lot. This is very graphic. Just you know, keep that in mind, guys. I'm just showing it to you, but it's very graphic. You know, girl on girl, girl on guy, guy on guy. The She-Hulk, which is funny because she has a hump, and she's all like, "Ugh, come on my hump, bro." Like there's the guys that make fun of the Thing, as you can see in the background. He has like 2 girls on him. Anyway. Homelander with Soldier Boy. So this is where Soldier Boy comes in. He's just been trying to get into the 7 for years, and he's always pleasing Homelander, you know, pleasing him. So Homelander's like, oh yeah, keep working hard and maybe next year, blah blah blah. So Soldier Boy, and like I said in the book, is it's just a footnote. It's not even a main character. He's kind of just a little comic relief, and you get to see that here. He looks just like the one in the show, almost, with the shield. Annie, of course, doesn't want to do anything with that. She keeps calling Huey, hey, you know, I'm on this conference. She doesn't know that he's actually there as well, and they're just trying to get more photographic evidence to use against the 7 or any of the superhero community. And then you see here, for example, here's Homelander in the air, and there's another plane, and then he just basically lasers the pilots, and it crashes. So he's just having fun, and they're killing at whatever time they want. And then it kind of, this is actually pretty interesting because you see here, like, this is one of the prostitutes, and she's like, hey, you're bleeding, and she's like, oh, you gotta go you know, rest of the day because they're getting, I hate to say it, but used so much that it's just like, you know, you gotta control yourself or whatever. So then the Vic, this is the vice president. He's basically like a fool, like almost like completely robotic in the sense that he just does whatever Bot tells him. So he's the vice president at the moment. So they're wanting to use him to try to get military contracts. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Everybody's there. You see a lot of the interactions with the superheroes, a lot of this stuff, and they have him, the vice president, there as well with all the girls. So this is just like a bot sponsored event. Then they are wanting to get information on him, so they kidnap one of the Secret Service agents to tell them what's going on, what their plans are. Here, Huey is caught by Black Noir, and Black Noir basically puts a thumb up his butt. So, you know, there you go, Huey. Sorry, bro. Let's take a look. Yeah, and then they find out that basically they've been trying to, the Secret Service has been infiltrated by Vought, and they're trying to use Vought to or use the Secret Service to kill the actual president, so that way Vic the Veep, which is their vice president candidate or bought out candidate, ascends to the presidency and gives them military contracts. So that's the end game, right? So the boys are like, oh, okay, this gives us a lot of information. We have to try to stop that. A lot of the Herogasm here is you also see this in Herogasm where you start to see Homelander take more of a front stage as the bad guy, and you see him, he's like, you know what, we're superheroes, we should be able to do whatever we want, but at the same time he can't really go behind Bot's back, so he's trying to hide it from them. And here you get to see a lot more of him wanting to basically be his own person, but also be able to do whatever he wants. You also get to meet Stormfront, which he's a Nazi, and then basically Vought sends Stormfront, which is in the book he's as strong as Homelander. They send him to kill the boys, and it looks like he beats up the female, but she takes out his eye. So he's in the hospital, or she's in the hospital, and so they decide to go and attack him. Here in this part, Annie has to, fight a different costume change. They want her to basically wear a bikini, and she doesn't want to. So she fights. That's what happens. Basically, they go, and this team tries to go stop Butcher, and this is what happens. He dies. Soldier Boy gets his nose ripped out by Butcher. He squeezed. They basically are fighting the team because they were sent to kill the boys to not make sure they didn't get stopped from their plan to taking over the presidency. And let's take a look. You get a little bit more information on Stormfront, which he was basically one of the first Compound V recipients, and he is a full-on Nazi. He wants to, basically do that. He gets his head crushed in, of course, by the guys together. And let's take a look. So now we start to get a little bit more background of each of the characters. For example, Mother's Milk. The reason why he's named that is because basically his mom worked at a factory where I guess she got some residual Compound B in her. So for most of them, the babies that they had were like freaks, or they died, or the people died. She had MM. I'm going to call him MM. And basically he was, every time he drinks her milk, her mom's milk, he gets stronger and stronger. So that's why he's named Mother's Milk. And then it just kind of gives you his story about how his brother, they didn't get their powers till later on, but his brother basically got it in the middle of while they were playing football, and his head got crushed by a football helmet that he couldn't take off, and he basically killed him. So that's what his reasoning is behind, or why he's mad at Vought. It caused his mom to basically become this monster, and then he gets their powers, and it caused the dad, because the dad basically wanted to soothe Vought, and he ended up dying before that. That's where Butcher finds him after he gets his powers and realizes he's super strong. So he never took the Compound V directly. He basically was born with it in his bloodstream from his mom. So that's where you get that. You also get to meet. Let's take a look. This little bit of filler. Let's see. Here's where you get Frenchie's story. He was basically a soldier in Paris, or in France, and his family, they fought with baguettes. Then his let's see, why is he's just really good at killing, basically. So he decided to help them out, and that's the reason why he decided to join them. He just needed somebody who was good at killing, so that's why. The female, so she was I believe born as well from oh no, yeah, she was a baby for this lady working at a factory. They had this Compound V runoff that they were supposed to throw away, and she fell into it basically and drank all of it, and she became super powerful. As you can see there, she absorbed a lot of it. So she's that's why she's super strong. They couldn't control her, so they just decided to use her to kill people. And as you can see there, it's kind of show how good she is. She's killing these guys left and right, and that's where the Frenchie finds her and gets her to become part of the team. So that's her story. And here's Soldier Boy when he dies. Then let's take a look. This is another Vought person. This is another super team that Huey kind of interacts with, and it just shows that they're not all of them are bad. It's just some of them were these are all really nice superheroes, and he feels bad for them. So he's like, oh, I need to make sure that you guys, aren't corrupted. And they killed some guy who was sent over there to try to basically change them. Let's take a look. This is, remember the Believe in the first season? This is basically that. And it kind of just, this is where basically they find out that they are both, he finds out that he finally tells her he loves her, and she tells him, oh, I'm part of the Seven, I'm a superhero. And he didn't know, so he, of course, is stunned. He doesn't know what to do. He's just remembering that superheroes killed his ex-girlfriend, and he's like, he just leaves. He kind of is can't handle it. He throws up. He leaves. They have the whole belief thing, and then this is where he talks to this guy. Hey, I want to get together all the superheroes who might be interested in overthrowing the government. Basically, Huey can't handle the fact that Annie is a superhero. Then he tells, I believe he tells there that she's a superhero. He already knew, of course, because Butcher knows everything. Then at this point, Butcher kind of tells him, hey, you need to see this. Let's check out to see if maybe, are you a mole or is she a mole? Because Butcher thought that Huey was a mole by bot because he's dating, Starlight. How does he not know that? So he was suspicious of Huey until he found out that Huey was just clueless about that. And then he showed him basically her entrance interview whenever, she got with those three guys or was forced to. And he doesn't believe it. The Believe thing, like this family went a trip to go with Homelander, like for them to drive him. That part kind of broke my heart because as he's flying there, he kind of lets the family go, and it's the dad and the mom and their two kids. And I have I have three daughters, so that kind of hit hard. I was like, oh my guys, I almost, ooh. I had to stop and like, ooh, what would happen in that sort of situation? You can't stop it. I mean, if you drop from the sky, how do you survive that? And you have all your kids, and they just kind of fall off. And anyway, so here he gets together with, as you can see here, all of the superheroes who might be down with overthrowing the government, and he explains the plan, which I'll show you in a little bit. There, Huey tells her, I don't want to have to do anything with you because you're a superhero. And then here he goes home, basically. He kind of takes a break from the boys. He goes back to his hometown. He deals with an issue there with his friends, his childhood friends. And it's all right. I mean, this is more of a filler story. It's a very, very filler arc. While there, you also see, Annie basically follows him. And she's like, no, we're going to deal with this shit. You're not going to just leave me. You're going to deal with it. He deals with his friends and how he felt when he was younger. So it's a lot of very emotional filler arc. You also get this. It's funny. And then that is the end of book 2. And then we are now going to go into book 3. All right. So book 3. So Huey, at that point, the boys are like, what are we going to do? You kind of get a little bit more of Vought and how it's all falling apart, for example. Here they're trying to teach Black Noir because, since the toys have him driving a plane, they have to teach him how to drive a plane. And of course, for the most part, these kids, the superheroes are basically like little kids in intelligence-wise in some parts. So he doesn't even know how to do it. So of course he blows up the plane and almost kills his Vought director and her. She gets blood all over her. So it's you can kind of see a lot of that. Their cluelessness with it. Here he is, and this is kind of where, if you saw the Hero Gasm episode where Homelander talks to himself in the mirror, he does that here too. It's very, very, you can see that he's definitely cracking, and it's almost like a split personality sort of thing. And you kind of get a little bit of the backstory of the boys and how it started. And this guy, his name is Mallory, who basically started the program, and why he decided to leave, which is they confronted the Seven about something, and this guy named Lamplighter, he's like, why are they getting to decide or talk to us like this? Oh, because of the photos of Homelander basically killing and eating a baby and like a whole family and like effing him, like just yeah, he eats and then or he bites the baby and he like has sex with the bodies of the family. And yeah, so they send him the pictures and they're like, you guys, we got you in check. This guy doesn't know. He's like, why are they controlling them? So they decide to leave, and this guy follows the director, which his name is Mallory, back home, and basically he kills his grandkids, his granddaughters in the hotel room, and then so he decides to leave. And then Maeve is actually working with the boys as well, putting the bugs in their base so that they can keep track of them and all their stuff. But then the Homelander comes back and he's like, you may have all this information, but we can kill you in an instant. But let's draw a truce, because if we were to do that, you would release all this information, would destroy Vought, and we would just kill you. We would destroy you. So we're just going to go ahead and call it a stalemate. And what we're going to do is we'll give you Lamplighter, which is the guy who had killed Mallory's grandkids. We'll give you him. And basically they kill him, but they don't die. They like come back. And that's kind of what it shows in a little arc. They come back, but they're kind of like brain dead technically. So they just kind of do the same thing. They still like Lamplighter's still alive technically, but he's like almost like an animal. All he does is crap and eat, and like he can't really think for himself or form sentences. So that's what happens to him. Here we get to see. Let's take a look. This is just something about a change in. She's no longer in charge of the FBI. She's running for Senate, so somebody else takes over, and you kind of get to see that interaction with him. So this is the guy, and here's where he tells you, or kind of gives you a breakdown of the history of Vought and why they're such a bad company. They actually tried to introduce the superheroes during World War II. As you can see here, I think these were called Payback, and basically they're like, oh, we're gonna fly out and try to help you out, but instead all they do is attract the enemy or the Nazis, and they all get killed, including and then including Soldier Boy. The original Soldier Boy gets killed, so that's where Mallory is like done with them. So like here, for example, I think this is where he comes with, he sees the original Soldier Boy, which kind of looks more like the one from the actual comic book. All he does is throw a grenade at him, even though he's telling him, help me. He's like, your fault is he lost all of his men. So it kind of gives you a history of where the voice started from, which is this guy named Mallory, and how he's been wanting to stop Vought from basically they're basically the lowest bidding contractor, and all of their stuff is the worst. And their guns were the worst, their tanks were the worst, and their super teams, of course, are useless, and all it does is cause people to die. So that's what he's trying to stop that, basically. And it's really just corporate greed. If you really think about it, you go with the lowest bidder for a job, and that person is the lowest bidder because they, of course, don't use the best things. They cut corners, and that's kind of what Vought does. They're just trying to make money, and people suffer for it. Then you get to see Butcher, and basically his wife was raped by a superhero, and then the baby that came out of that basically killed her and was a superhero and almost killed him, basically. So he's just, you get to see a little bit of that. And he tells Huey, you got to try to stop Butcher, or that's just why I decided to leave. It was getting too much, and Butcher is he has a goal in mind, and he has to stop it. Here we get to see the interaction with basically like a brothel for superheroes, where you can do whatever you want, and it's how they take Jack from Jupiter, which is one of the 7. So this, I believe, like right after Hero Gasm is where I think the book really starts to take off, or the series, because now there's a goal in mind. Homelander's trying to take over getting a team to take over the government. Vought is trying to get their person into presidency so that they can get contracts with the military, and the boys are basically trying to stop them. but they don't realize they don't have all the information. Okay. So here, where are they getting together? Oh, because of they want to release information for Jack, and Jack is like, no, you can't do that to me, or somebody released it, but they don't know who it was, and he's like, oh, somebody was wanting to get us to fight each other, but it wasn't me, and it turns out that it was Vought. They released that information to bring down Jack from Jupiter, and what he does is, unfortunately, he does the worst thing you can do, and that's what I meant to you. He kills Terror, which has been Butcher's dog for the longest, like the whole series, so he, of course, goes out and gets revenge and basically kills Jack from Jupiter with a knife. He's basically like Shazam. He has to say, if he says a word, he can't be harmed at all. So Butcher basically, chokes him before he can say it, and stabs him, kills him. You can see there, and just lets his entrails come out, and kills him again. Yeah. So that's what he does. And then here we go. It gives you more information on Vought as well, and how their plane sucked. There's the funeral for him. And this is just kind of like the back history of Butcher and why he's the way he is. And you get, of course, to meet, I think her name is Rachel. Rachel was the girl he was in love with. And they tell you how, what happens. See, there's his marriage. He's all happy. Yay. Everything that's going on with them. Let me take a look. Where is it that... Yeah, it's during the superhero part right here that something happens, and see, that's where the baby comes out, and he's like, he's an A. Yeah, there you go. You get to see that, so that's cool. And he's like shooting. He hits him, and he basically kills him. But of course, Becky's dead, or Becky's dead, and that's what got him to basically go on a killing spree to avenge his wife, and that's why he's never stopped. Okay. Let's take a look. This part is, so the president, of course, knows that Vought is trying to take him down, so he's trying to avoid them as much as possible, but he really can't. And then this is kind of where, this is a pivotal point, because this is where he dies. He dies the worst way possible. He's at this thing showing kids around, like, for no purpose. One of the kids are with their pets. One of the kids has a Wolverine. And then Vic the Beep, because he's just like a moron, unleashes it, and it goes straight for the president and basically kills him like that. So then he ascends the presidency. And let me take a look. So now all the plans are starting to move into motion here. So, of course... at this point, Huey has already told her that he's part of the CIA program and that he's trying to kill all the superheroes, and she doesn't understand, or why. She's like, well, if you had a secret, you understand that my secret as well. Why can't you just get over it? But I don't know. In this part, Huey seems like a real wimp to me. They sent these guys to kill them, the boys, and of course... They think that it's Vought trying to kill them again. So they're like, okay, now that you're going to do that, we're going to send Frenchie and the female to kill you. So as you can see there, the Frenchie and the female go and attack the Vought. I'm going to call him Vought just because he's the representative Vought for this whole thing. He sends him that way, but they have a superhero team that's already there, kind of. And here, because he comes back and he's like, I don't want to kill anymore. I'm done with killing. And... Butcher's like, really? Well, let's see if you're going to uphold up to it. Here's the guy who killed your ex-girlfriend. What are you going to do about it? And then here you found out that Homelander sent that team to kill the boys in hoping that they would retaliate and kill the Vought representative, or the bot company, and they would kill each other because he's moving on his plan to basically take over the government. And as you can see here, basically the government, these guys go in there and that's where the plan of attack starts while they're fighting each other. Huey, of course, he's like, oh, I don't want to kill him, and he plays him the video or the tape of him after he basically accidentally killed her, and they're all saying, oh, it happens, it doesn't matter, she doesn't matter. So he gets mad, and here's where the guys that were protecting the people from bot are fighting Frenchie and the female, and they unfortunately like rip off, or they laser beam off the Frenchie's arm, but then they kind of do a what do you call it, a ceasefire. Here is when that plan is starting to go into motion, and she's leaving, and Maeve's like, you need to leave. Let's take a look. While this happens, they kind of call a stalemate. Let's stop the fighting because we didn't attack you and you didn't attack us. And then this guy is trying to say, oh, let me live. And Huey's like, do you understand that she was a girl? She was a person. He's kind of like not caring. And Butcher's like, see, they don't really care. To them, it's just collateral damage. He kicks A-Train's head off. Kind of like finally getting revenge for her, but it doesn't really do anything here. Here's where Homelander's like, we're leaving to kill it. They're both saying, nope, we're going to leave. You can't, and then he's like, do you really think I'm going to let you leave? He throws this little guy who's been like her manservant, Queen Maeve's manservant. She throws him at him. He just disintegrates in his chest. And then she grabs Torchlight and throws her off of the base, their space base. And she attacks Homelander. Of course, all it does is leave like a scar. And, she gets her head knocked clean off. And Starlight just disappears. This is where they talk. They're like, I didn't send... He's like, why did you send your guys to kill me? And he's like, you attacked me first. And then this guy's like, I never sent anybody to attack you. And he's like, somebody's trying to pit us against each other. Let's call it a truce. And then he's like, what's going on? That's when they find out that the superheroes have basically attacked the United States Capitol. And then this is where you can see. So Butcher lets go all of the information of Homelander. And as you can see here, look, this is what I'm talking about. He's eating a baby there. There he punches a guy through the stomach and comes out of his mouth. Here he's doing stuff to the head. Here he kills like a little kid. So it kind of they released all the information of what a bot had been doing and what the superheroes had been doing to kind of destroy them. This guy shows up to kill the guy from bot, but the bot guy is very smart. He's like, oh, all you're doing is not impressive. And then Homelander, of course, he's so what is it, egotistical, that he's like, you think I'm not gonna let you live so you can see what I'm gonna do? So he doesn't kill him. He just leaves so that he can show them what they're gonna do. The boys show up at Washington DC to help out and kill, or to stop the whole thing. And they had given the Air Force basically missiles that could track the Compound V in the superheroes' veins. So they use that. And Butcher goes over there to basically stop them. The army uses, as you can see there's Vic the Veep. Homelander has killed him, and he's about to kill him. And he's like, all this stuff that you showed in the video, I don't even remember that. I don't even remember killing your wife. I don't remember any of that. Like, why should I remember that stuff? And you kind of see what happened to him when he was small. He was a baby too, came out with superpowers, and he's never learned how to be, he's always been held back by the company, and he's like, why should I be held back by them? Which is also in line with the show, what he says there as well. You kind of get the history of that. And here he's like, I don't even remember doing this. I don't understand. And then right here is where you find out about this guy, and then he finds out basically that bot to stop him. Like, how are you going to stop Homelander, somebody like Superman? What if you create somebody else that's exactly like him, like a clone that's as strong as him but completely under control? And that's where you find out that Black Noir has been Vough's secret weapon to stop Homelander. That's why he's always with him. And then you find out that he is his clone. Black Noir takes off his mask, and it's basically Homelander. If you haven't seen the show, this is probably going to spoil it. I think they're leading that up to the show. So I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. If you already read it, then you already know. So basically all the atrocities that had been done, that you saw, like the baby eating and all that stuff, were done by Black Noir, who was completely insane. He's even worse than Homelander. He is like, I've been doing that so that you get blamed for it, and since I have your face, I can do whatever I want, and you're going to be the one blamed for it. And Homelander is like, that's, you know, he's, yeah, all this stuff, basically everything that he's gone through, it kind of shatters his mind. He's like, you basically stole my life. Here's where the army destroys all of the superheroes using their special missiles. As you can see, everybody's getting blown to bits and destroyed. And let's take a look. So then they start fighting each other. As you can see here, he tries to hit him, but Black Noir basically rips his face off right there. Butcher just leaves because, you know, he can't handle that sort of thing. And he's like, get ready, boys. He mans the gun. Here's the She-Hulk looking lady, and they of course all just get plastered by the guns and by the army and the infantry and all that stuff. Here's where Black Noir comes out after the fight, as you can see. So then they basically unleash on him. They're just shooting at him. This is after the fight, so as you can see, he killed Homelander already, but he's also half dead as well. And then they just rip into him some more. And he comes down, goes over to, he's like laughing almost, and basically he rips his skull off there, as you can see, with the crowbar. And alright, so then he basically picks up Homelander's brain and squishes it. And he finally gets revenge for his wife, Becky. You know, he's here crying. Oh, don't cry. But no, wait, it's not over yet. Not yet. So then we move on here, and we see Vaz, as you can see right there. He's getting killed. Oh no, who's attacking him? Why, it's none other than Butcher with a rocket launcher. What's going on? So basically, from this point forward, we find out that Butcher did not want to stop at just killing the 7. He wants to kill anybody who has Compound V in their blood. He basically wants to eradicate him from the world, or from the Earth, and he has a plan using the original creator of the bot, who he was sent to kill. He didn't kill him. He left him alive, and used him to create I want to call it a anti-Compound V, and he's going to blow up, strategically place bombs with that compound in it, so that it'll spread all over the world. And then within 6 months, anybody who has Compound V in their blood, regardless of who they are, will die. So of course, they all team up, and they're like, you know, we can't let him do that. Here, the female kind of first doesn't want to go after Butcher, but at the end, she's like, she actually talks. She says, "I hate mean people," so she goes after him. And they decide to go after him. Here, Mother's Milk had been at the office looking for where Butcher might be, and he shows up, and he's like, you know, I don't want to do this, but if we're gonna do it, let's do it. And they start fighting, and Mother's Milk is definitely stronger than Butcher, but Butcher grabs a grenade and puts it in his face, and it blows up. He's not dead, and he just comes over basically and suffocates him, as you can see there. And then we see the Frenchie and the female. They're there afterwards with the police, you know, investigating the explosion. And Huey's coming back. He's investigating, and this is where he finds the guy who created Compound V. And Butcher calls him and tells him, "I know you're at the lab. You won't find anything there. I already wiped it, and I know where you're at. I know what you guys are doing." While they're investigating, you know, after the explosion, they hear something, and he looks over, and it looks like Butcher put in a huge block of C4 for them. And they look at each other, and Frenchie tells the female, "Je t'aime," from the first. Je t'aime means I love you. And he's just basically telling her he loves her from the first, and then it explodes, and they both die, unfortunately. Huey's thrown back because he was on his way back there, and he's thinking back of what Butcher has told him, that he's like a little brother to him, and he figures out that basically Butcher wants him to stop him. So he's going after him. He's looking for clues on how to stop him. Here he goes towards where Mother's Milk actually gets his own mother's milk, and it's basically his mom who's mutated, and he's like, I need the strength, so he, sucks on her boob, I guess. Yeah, there you go. And this lady is the one who took over for this guy from Bot after he got promoted. And basically, Butcher just has to go to the Empire State Building to blow up the bombs. And Huey meets up with him there, and he's trying to stop him to talk him out of it. And he tells him basically, I'm doing it for her, and I'm doing it from bots to stop them from hurting anybody else who's trying to do this again. Huey rushes him like a dork. He doesn't even look at him. He's just rushing him. He steps out of the way. He busts through the window, and Butcher grabs him and is trying to help him, but they both fall, and he ends up like this with the leg in there. Oh, ouch. And they kind of are talking, and he's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, is she worth it? And then he's like, you would understand. For somebody that you love, you would change the world. So he tells him, don't you feel that way about Annie? And he's like, yes, I would stop you from her dying. So Butcher, like he says, he can't feel anything from the neck down, so he can't really. But he's, they all have compound B, so they'll probably heal. So he's like, you're gonna have to kill me. Here, she finds out that Bot is basically scapegoating her, and she's taking the fall of what happened with the insurrection from the superheroes, and she kind of goes crazy. And so yeah, he's like, Huey doesn't want to kill him. He's like, I'm not going to kill you. I can't do that. So Butcher's like, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I killed your parents. I basically murdered your mom and dad. And he describes to him the inside of his house. So Huey believes him, and he starts punching him, and then grabs the blade that he had been on, or the edge that he had been on, and stabs Butcher in the heart. And Butcher dies, and then he calls his mom, and his mom is like, oh yeah, your boss Butcher came, and he was telling us how much he appreciates you, and how much he wanted to see where you were born, and what kind of people we are, because he thinks of the world about you. So he kind of is left like that because Butcher lied to him, but he did it so that he would kill him and stop him. So that's bittersweet. And then 6 months later, here's Huey. They're celebrating the reconstruction of the Brooklyn Bridge that was destroyed by the Seven, and on the bridge, with his superpower, he writes MM and then F, so Mother's Milk, and then Frenchie and the female. So he writes that in there. And then he meets up with the guy from Bond, who now changed their name to America Consolidated. And then he's like, test this, and you're gonna test that. It's a compound that basically will kill you if you guys step out of the line. I'm gonna kill every superhero you guys have. And this guy's like, well, I don't care. It's kind of like he's like, you could kill me right now and it wouldn't change the company. The company would still keep going. We win in the end because we are, I don't want to say they're eternal, but it's just a company. You can't kill a whole company like that. So here we kind of see that they want to rebuild their team, and the guy's like, nope, we're not doing that anymore. And it just says bad product, like he's calling all of the superheroes or Compound B a bad product. That kind of shuts the chapter on them. And then you see that Annie meets up with Huey, and they're kind of like, we've got past this, we're gonna move forward, and this is gonna be a new start for both of us. And they decide to stay together, and they kiss, and that's how it ends. So there you go. And of course, you saw the bonus material during that first sneak peek. But basically, that is the end of the story of the boys. Let me go ahead and just put all these books together. So like I said, at the beginning, the artwork was hard to get into for me, just because we're luckily spoiled with a lot of really good artists. So it was kind of like getting into this style was kind of hard, but it definitely worked out. At the beginning, I felt like the story was very jumbled. You kind of it's kind of in it for the gore and the blood and all that, but by Herogasm in the second story or the second book, the overall story starts coming to get together. You understand what Bot's trying to do, you understand what Homelander's trying to do, and you understand what the boys are trying to do as well. And then at the end, of course, it all accumulates on book 3, where you see all of the arcs come together to form a cohesive story that pays off. And of course, like I said, you get that twist ending with Butcher that I wasn't expecting, but near the end, you're kind of like seeing it. You're like, oh, okay, I just didn't think it would end like that for them. So that was very interesting. I was surprised with that. It's very interesting how you see the progression of Huey from the beginning to the end, and how he is basically a parallel of Butcher. They both suffered tragedies, but Butcher was like, he had no remorse for what he was doing. He just wanted to kill them all. While Huey was very empathetic to the superheroes. Some of them were put into positions or got powers, without really choosing for it. They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and most of them were, raised wrong. So he can see that. So that's how the parallel between Butcher and Huey is. They're kind of like the same guys, just their views on it changed the outcome at the end, and then of course they had to clash at the end. So you get to see that as well. So that definitely paid off in the long run. You think Butcher's really cool, but at the end you realize that he is tormented by what happened to his wife, and Huey at the beginning, of course, is tormented as well. But he realizes that, for example, the seven, some of them, they got powers because they were injected as kids without a real say-so. So he's more sympathetic and empathetic towards their plight and their struggles. So that's where he branches off from Butcher's views, where there is redeeming qualities in some of them, and that they shouldn't have to be killed. They can be turned or taught better. So that's really cool. I really like that as well. I enjoyed the payoff at the end. It kind of was, like I said, it took a little bit for the actual story to start, but at the end I couldn't wait to see what happened next. And Homelander was a great villain, but Vought was the real, to me was like, okay, yeah, he's the bad guy, super strength bad guy, but Vought is the real enemy behind all of this for all of them. So that was really cool. The show definitely has already taken off from the books by a lot. And I like that, because it definitely is its own story, and no matter how much you read the books, you wouldn't expect some of the stuff that you see in the show. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of the show as well. So if you enjoy the show, you might not like the books. And like some people like the books and they don't enjoy the show. So it's kind of like that. You have to try both to see if you like it. I enjoyed the story. Like I said, JP does not. He tried starting the boys 3 times and he couldn't. He couldn't get into it. I can understand why, though, because the beginning, it is very, like, I want to say slow paced, but it's not. It's just like you don't see a cohesive story till later on. So there you go, guys. That's the deep dive. I know it's long, but I really enjoyed it. I think you will enjoy it too if you give it a try. And let me know what you think. Do you love the story? There's some people I've already read in the comments for The Boys Volume 2 that do not. They're like, oh, this is the worst story ever. It's nothing but a teenagers, how you think superheroes would act. And I understand that, but did you get to the end? Did you read the ending? Do you understand why they're all doing that? What they went through for it? Why, even Homelander, why he's doing that? He's trying to get the approval of Daddy, basically. So it's very interesting seeing all of those come together at the end, and I think it makes a pretty good story. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite story, but it's a good story out of the superhero community sort of thing that's not Marvel or DC. It's not with established characters. You meet the character from the beginning. You see him progress and change by the end of it. He is a different person, and he's grown from the experience that he had. So there you go, guys. The Boys, we have all 3 available at Organic Price Books in one form or the other, the signed or unsigned. So check it out and let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.